cheating make a marriage stronger? Well, it sounds like the premise of a Hollywood movie, but actually, an article in the New York Times says that an affair, quote, could be the beginning of the best part of your marriage. So could an affair actually make a marriage stronger? Let's bring in clinical psychologist Dr. Belisa Vranich. She's also the sex editor at Men's Fitness magazine. Also relationship therapist Dr. Jennifer Berman and Charmaine Yoest from the Family Research Council. Dr. Berman, let me start with you. Can infidelity ever actually be a good thing for a marriage?
Well, whether it be infidelity or any other relationship hurdle, it can be a springboard to opening up the lines of communication and rebuilding intimacy. Again, it can also be a death sentence, and it depends on the context and the nature and the willingness of the individuals as well as the couple to repair the relationship.
Now, in your line of business, do you find that monogamy is a natural part of the human experience, or is it something that people, whether they're in marriages or out of marriages, have to struggle with all the time?
I mean, monogamy is not a natural state for human beings, and we're not wired to be monogamous. I mean, men are wired to procreate and spread their seeds, and women, we're wired to look for a strong mate, a virile mate, a mate that can provide for us and protect us. And if for whatever reason, you know, things dissolve in that area, it's natural for us to pursue and even if everything's great, you know, it's natural to pursue or think about. Thinking about and fantasizing about and actually doing are two different things. So it does take work. It is a struggle, and you know, it's very important that the lines of communication are open and that issues are attended to early on, such that resentments, angers, and or other things escalate to the point where somebody is having a relationship outside the marriage.
Dr. Vranich, what's your take on this New York Times story that says adultery can actually be positive for a marriage?
I don't think it can be positive. I can only see it be something negative. In very few cases can people turn it around and have it be something good. So I have to disagree.
And Charmaine Yoest, I'll ask you the same thing. Obviously, the Family Research Council does not support this premise in the New York Times, does it?
Well, I want to be really careful, because the article was really interesting, because his point is that you do have to look at what's going on in the relationship and why did the infidelity happen. And what I would build on what Jennifer was saying is that, you know, what's natural to the human being is not what we as civilized people focus on. The difference between civilization and, you know, just whoever does whatever they want, is the commitment that we make, the choices that we make as grown-up adult human beings. And that's what marriage is about. It's hard work, but it's rewarding. And monogamy is a really important part of that. And I'm really glad we're having this conversation, because we've kind of come through several generations where we haven't had an appreciation for how important and how central monogamy is to a marriage. The fidelity, the commitment. And yes, people do make mistakes. But the important thing, and this is, you know, what we all want to teach our children, is sometimes sorry isn't good enough. You have to rebuild trust. You have to go back in and say, I'm going to prove to you, I'm going to remake this commitment all over again. I stood up before God and man, I made a commitment to you, I goofed up. Now I'm going to prove to you that I'm worthy of trust again. And that's really critical. It's taking the marriage seriously.
Dr. Berman, you wanted to respond?
Yeah, I mean, again, whether it be cheating or, you know, hiding an investment or, you know, slipping and drinking when you're supposed to be, I mean, again, people make mistakes regardless of what vows we take, and it depends on, to rebuild trust does take work, and not everybody is going to be willing or able to do that. But that being said, that in the context of rebuilding intimacy and rebuilding trust, whether that infidelity and or the opening of lines of communication can repair a relationship and repair a marriage, but it does take work, and it does take a certain level of commitment from both parties.
I think that's really important, though.
If all of us, you all stay with us, we'll be right back with more in this discussion when Scarborough Country returns. New York Times report saying that adultery may actually be good for a marriage. I'm here with my panel of experts. And Dr. Vranich, let me ask you the question, what has to be done if you have this explosion in your life and you have adultery in a marriage? What do the what do the man and the wife have to do to move forward and get past that so they can have a productive marriage?
They both have to want to be in therapy. They both have to want to get back together again. Too many times I see couples come in and one person wants to be there and the other person doesn't. If you have two people that really want to be there and really want to heal, that's when it's possible.
And how often does that happen? I mean, is that the exception
Not often
instead
enough.
of the rule?
Not often enough, Joe, really. I wish it would happen more often, that you see people come in and say, hey, this was a terrible thing, but we want to heal, we want to get back together, we want things to be better than before. It's easy to fall in love. It's not easy to stay in love.
Do you find that women are more forgiving of men who've cheated on them, or that men are more forgiving of women?
I think it really depends on the couple. I've seen some very, very angry men, and I've seen some angry women, depending on who's cheated. And it depends on who they cheated with and how long. If it's been a long time and there's been a lot of lies, you're going to see rage, you're going to see sadness, and a lot of feelings of betrayal.
And Dr. Berman, I'll ask you...
What I was going to say
Go
is
ahead.
that cheating isn't only necessarily having sex or a relationship with the other person. Infidelity can be in the form of the internet. Infidelity can be an emotional affair, which is equally as damaging, if not worse. So it depends on the context and the nature. It really can be a point to rebuild the relationship, but as the doctor said, that both parties need to be committed and want to make it work.
All right.
And when one
We're
does
going to
and the
have
other
to
doesn't.
leave it there. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Joe.
Charmaine. Greatly appreciate it. We'll be right back.